Okay, welcome to the video on pot odds. Okay, so what are pot odds? Well, pot odds, in mathematical terms, are what is called a ratio. And what they show is the relationship between risk and reward in the case of gambling and poker or whatever. And you often hear things like, say, let's say at the bookies, you might hear something like 3 to 1. What this is effectively saying is that for every 1 unit of risk, okay, you have 3 units of reward. So, let's say you put $1, you risk $1, you can win 3. So, you might have the same thing for, say, like, I don't know, 7 to 2. You might say 7 to 2. For every 2 you risk, you can win 7. Okay, so that's basically what it means. It shows risk and reward. And the formula, so you can write it down as a formula kind of thing. And you can say, well, it's reward to risk. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Now then, let's put this into a poker scenario now. We've talked about horse races or bookies or whatever. Now suppose you're on the river, you are this blue chap, and someone's made a bet, and you're deciding whether you should call or not. And if you win the hand, you can win the pot, plus your opponent's bet. Hopefully that makes intuitive sense to you. And we'll just write that down as our reward then. So, pot plus bet. Okay, so you can win this little stack here, and this little stack here if you call and you have the winning hand. However, you're also risking something, and you risk the same size as the person's bet, because, you know, call, a bet equals a call, and a call is how much you risk, so what you risk is actually the size of your opponent's bet. And that's why I like to split it up in, because you could say, this pot plus bet here is the pot. And that's perfectly fine, but I just like to break it down into this little separate bit so that you can see where the formula comes from. Okay. Anyway. So, hopefully that makes sense. So the pot plus the bet is how you reward if you win the hand, and the bet is the amount you risk. So let's do an example. We'll try and keep this thing in this frame. It's got a little bit weird there, but I hopefully you can still see it. The program got a bit odd. Okay, so let's suppose we have a pot of, I don't know, 15. And our opponent makes a bet of 5. Okay, well, let's just use this formula from up here. Pot plus bet, wow. This is our reward. 15 plus 5. 2. How much we risk, which is 5. So, adding this up, it is going to be 20 to 5. Yeah, and this can be simplified down to 4 to 1. Because you divide both sides through by 5. Yeah. 20 divided by 5 is 4, 5 divided by 5 is 1. And that simplifies down to this here. Okay? And what this says here, with this particular scenario, is that for every 1 unit of risk, you have 4 units of reward. Okay? So you could say, alright, well, if you have to risk $5 to win $20. But simplifying that down, that basically equates to for every $1 you risk, you have the reward of 4. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Now let's do another example. This is slightly more tricky. Let's say the pot equals 17, and the bet, let's say 12. Okay, so using the formula up here again, our reward is the pot plus the bet, so, let's change colour to sort of funny colour here. 17 plus 12. Let's scroll over a little bit. So that's our reward, the pot, 17, and the bet, 12. 2, the risk, the bet, which is 12. So, 17 plus 12 is 29. 29 to 12. And hopefully that makes good sense. Because you're having to risk 12 for the reward of 29. Now, 29 to 12 is a bit of a horrible ratio. Because what does that mean? It's not exactly clear. It's not really intuitive, unlike 4 to 1, which is very intuitive. It makes perfect sense. For every 1 you risk, you can win 4. And it's easy to deal with that. It's much more difficult to deal with 29 to 12. So what we can do is we can simplify this down by dividing both sides by 12. Then that will mean that our risk is in units of 1. So if we have 29 divided by 12, okay, and 12 divided by 12, well, 29 divided by 12, I'm just going to get the calculator out, is 2.41. 2.417. And 12 divided by 12 is 1. So that says that for every 1 unit of risk, we can win 2.417. Now that means that we can compare these two ratios here, and this is why I like to get the risk in units of 1 by always using this method. We can compare these odds very easily. God, it's gone crazy. Okay, then. Circle it. Both of these ratios here are in terms of risk units in terms of 1. And then that means that we can very easily compare our rewards. So in this one, we get 4 units of reward for every 1 unit of risk. And in this one, we get 2.417 units of reward for every 1 unit of risk. And it should be pretty obvious, I hope, unless I explain it really badly, that these are better odds. 4 to 1 is better odds than 2.147 to 1. Because your reward is more compared to the same amount of risk. Because in both cases, you're making the same amount of risk, but in this one here, okay, you're getting more reward. Okay? And hopefully that makes sense. And that's why I like to do it in terms of to 1. I think you should just always try and reduce it down like I have. Okay then.